One of the greatest mysteries in world history. Protector of the pyramids, Sphinx. The first plate from the 4th dynasty speaks of the Sphinx. The greatest secret that the world has ever existed is the secret of the Sphinx. The Sphinx, which is 73 meters long and 20 meters high in the shape of a lion, it is the largest stone statue in the world. Although it is written in many sources that it was built in 2600 years BC, some studies don't say so. Researcher John Anthony and geologist Robert Schoch, in 1991, made some examinations on the statue. The abrasions on the sculpture were caused by water rather than wind and sand. But due to the climate in Egypt, it didn't rain much here. Such a wear could happen if it was in contact with water for a long time. The only answer researchers had in mind was the Great Flood of Noah's time. This indicates that the statue is over 10,000 years old. So is there any evidence to support this theory? Listen carefully here. 3 Great Pyramids, Cheops, Khephren and Mykerinos, 3 stars next to each other in the constellation of Orion. It is built according to Alnilam, Alnitak and Mintakea. The small Mintaka star on the right is slightly out of alignment. Now look again at the arrangement of the pyramids. Researcher Robert Bauval searched for the date and the Orion and the pyramids settled in the same direction with a computer program, and the date that emerged was 10,500 BC. Keep this date in mind. I will talk about something else. As you know, the Egyptians attached great importance to the structures they built and to astronomy. Robert Bauval and Graham Hancock did another study on the Sphinx. They studied the constellations at the spring equinox in 2600 BC, when the Sphinx was supposed to have been made. And at that time they saw that the constellation Taurus was on the rise. However, the Egyptians paid close attention to the symbols. If it were made on this date, wouldn't the Sphinx be in the form of a bull, not a lion? Bauval and Hancock looked at the rising sign of Leo as well, this time at the vernal equinox. Guess the date they come across. Yes, 10,500 BC. All the results show that the Sphinx is more than 12,000 years old and was made before the Great Flood. So, are the mysteries of the Sphinx limited to these? No. The rooms below the Sphinx, the secret passages, the halls connected to the pyramids and more. In 1817, during an archaeological excavation conducted by Giovanni Battista Caviglia, a part of the Sphinx, which was buried under the sand for hundreds of years, has emerged. However, the entire Sphinx was uncovered during an archaeological excavation led by Émile Barrès, which began in 1925 and ended in 1936. On the other hand, in this photograph taken in the year 15th of December 1925, there is a passage above the head of the Sphinx. This passage does not exist today, because at Emilia and 1936 these and other secret passages were closed for future explorers, especially ancient thieves, to enter these places. So, what was in these secret rooms? Some researchers set out, according to the sign, the world's greatest secret is hidden here, and claim that the secret rooms of the statue contain some information about the history of humanity, lost civilizations, and extraterrestrial life. So, has anyone entered this secret compartment? In the early 18th centuries, the English Egyptologist and antiques collector Henry Said entered the void, but what she found there remained a mystery. All we know is that he had a heated argument with his fellow explorer, Auguste Forbin, in 1987, Tsukuji Yoshimura, the leader of a team from the Waseda University in Tokyo, conducted an electromagnetic sounding study on the Pyramid of Khufu and the Sphinx. And they found a gutter and secret chambers that led under the Sphinx's body. The Japanese, a gutter 3 meters below the ground and 2.5 meters high south of the Sphinx. According to research, to the south of the Sphinx there is a groove 3 meters below the ground and 2.5 meters high, and to the north of the Sphinx there is a groove similar to the one in the south. In front of their feet, they discovered another space 2 meters below the surface and a system of tunnels connecting them. These secret passages, tunnels and chambers are still not fully explored. It is very difficult to make these discoveries without damaging the structures. That's why research moves so slowly. The bottom of the pyramids and Sphinx may have a more complex system than previously thought. Another important theory about the Sphinx is that there may be a second Sphinx statue in Giza. Because these protective statues are built in pairs in almost every culture. How do we infer the possibility that there is another Sphinx statue? Of course, from the Dream Obelisk. This stone is located just below the forelegs of the Sphinx. Look, there are two Sphinx reliefs on the stone, back to back. Jerry Cannon and many researchers think that there is a second Sphinx statue in Giza. Incredible rumors about the Sphinx continue to circulate among the locals even today. Some contemporary researchers who have visited the area say that the locals had the impression that they knew much more than the researchers. It is said that curious locals were able to somehow enter that corridor, which was found by Japanese scientists in 1987 but was not allowed to enter later. But rumor has it that nothing but a jug and a long string were found along the corridor. Later, an entrance leading to a lower floor, through another door on the floor of the corridor, and 3 separate tunnels leading to the Cheops pyramid were found. Then strange things started to happen. The natives encountered a beam of light. It was a kind of protection wall. Because no one could cross that line. Those who tried to pass began to feel dizzy, irrational fear, and began to vomit. Those who tried to approach, however, lost control of their movement and began to tremble and experience severe cramps. Upon the spread of the rumors, Egyptian scientists scanned the area in question with radar devices. Sections as deep as a 12-story apartment building going underground have been discovered. According to locals, this was during the period when excavations under the Sphinx were prohibited. And scientists had to make do with this external scan only. Many proponents of the hypothesis that the Sphinx is much older than thought say it was built by extraterrestrial civilizations or ancient giants in Arabia. However, we should definitely note that linking all structures of unknown origin to such things hinders efforts to make more serious assessments. This is dangerous enough to prevent us from reaching the truth. The Sphinx has suffered greatly from the ravages of humans and modern pollution of the time. In fact, what saved it from total extinction is that it spent most of its life under the sands. 3 years ago, Egyptian authorities realized that wastewater discharged into a nearby canal was overflowing sewers. Moisture permeated the entire body of the Sphinx and caused large pieces to break off from the lower parts. Zahi Hafiz, who is still working as the Undersecretary of Giza Historical Monuments Protection and Excavation Area, had the workers drill into the nearby rocks and holes to check the water level. The waters were only 4.5 meters below the statue. This priceless historical monument is slowly disappearing before our eyes. We hope it doesn't disappear before we can solve its secrets.